Welcome to Ubaya podcast Open Your Mind. I'm Bernadiya, and today is a really special one because we're going to talk about aging wellness. And today we are joined by a very special guest. He is an international student from Maastricht University who recently participated in a community service and KKN program. During this program, he was directly involved in activities with older adults at Pusdakota, giving him a unique opportunity to observe how aging is experienced and supported here in Indonesia. And in this episode, we'll explore what he observed in Indonesia, how it compares to the Netherlands, and most importantly, how he thinks aging wellness should ideally be approached. So, before we dive into the discussion, could you please introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us your name, your background, and what brought you to Indonesia?
Yes, thank you for the introduction. Hi guys, I'm Egide. I'm a fourth year medicine student from Maastricht University, which is in the south of the Netherlands. And what brought me here is that I wanted to, I'm a co-assistant, co-as, and I wanted to put myself in a completely different situation and get out of my comfort zone because I think you can learn a lot from that as a medical student. And just observe how things are in a completely different context than where I'm usually working. So I thought it would be a really good experience for me to become a better doctor in the end.
That's all
Yeah.
your introduction. So, hi, Eggy. It's a very nice day, and then it's a very nice thing also for all of us here to have you in Ubaya.
Thank you so much.
So, Eggy, you've mentioned before about being here in Indonesia is like a completely different things from your country. So, I'm pretty sure that you have your own expectation when you're still in Netherlands before coming to Indonesia. And when you arrive in Indonesia and then joining the KKN things and then also joining at Pusdakota, what were your expectations before joining the community service and KKN program here?
Yeah, so my expectation was that it was going to be like a very cultural shock moment because it's so different from my culture. And I think before I was prepared by my university for like that you guys have a different communication style and you work together more in a community-centered approach. And I was just really curious to experience that because in the Netherlands we are highly individualistic and our communication style is more direct and stuff. So I was just also curious how that would be like here. Um, yeah, and furthermore, I was also just very excited to go to Indonesia because it's such a beautiful country, and I was just excited to be here and see how people live here. And yeah, it's
Yes.
been amazing.
Yeah, it's been amazing. So before we're going to more than that, when you arrive in Indonesia and then you're already joining the KKN program and then at Pusdakota, during your time at Pusdakota and throughout the KKN program, what were your first impressions when interacting with other adults here?
Yeah, so I want to start off by saying that they are very friendly.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's just really heartwarming to see how welcoming they were to us. Very, very interested, and they all want to take pictures. And
Yeah, that's
yeah,
right. Everyone to take pictures with Aggie.
yeah,
You're being
yeah,
a celebrity
yeah.
here.
It feels sometimes like I'm a celebrity, which is weird because in the Netherlands you can kind of be an NPC. Also for foreigners, like nobody looks at you
Yeah,
in a more special way. So it's weird to live that experience.
yeah, it's a nice thing that you feel happy being here at your first time being in Indonesia.
Yeah.
So you met a lot with older people right here.
Yeah.
You met through the Pusdakota also. You have like a little talk with each of them, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then at KKN, of course, you meet more people,
Yeah.
especially the older
Yeah.
one. So when you're talking with them, do you find out like something different from them? Like maybe they feel how they feel about being an elderly or
Mm-hmm.
things like that.
Yeah, so I conducted interviews at like in the urban setting around Pustakota. So I really asked like specific questions. So I actually learned a lot about the elderly because I asked them like how like how are they and what do they want to see improvement for and what are they struggling with. So I learned a lot about the struggles their daily struggles and also about the things they enjoy and that really helped them. Uh, Something that stood out to me was the loneliness. Like I didn't expect so many people to feel lonely here because it is so community focused and
Yeah.
everybody's friends with their neighbors and if people live in a three-generational household. So that stood out very much, yeah, for me.
Yeah, so do you find like a difference like when you're in the Pusdakota, which in Surabaya, and then the KKM program, which in Trawas, right?
Yeah.
Do you find like a difference when with elderly people who live in Surabaya or elderly people who live in Trawas or in the village?
Yeah, I think in the village it's even more of a community, and people are more involved with each other. And I think in an urban setting, it's a bit less. It's maybe a bit more individualistic. Uh, but because like I was long in the in Trawas, but I wasn't that long in at Pusdakota. It was only 2 weeks, so I didn't observe like how they live there. But if I have to say something, it would be that.
Okay, and also before you mentioned about three generations in a house, is that something that's surprising you about, oh, this is how people in Indonesia live or elderly people treated in Indonesia? Is
Yeah.
that surprise you or what?
Yeah, because of course I did a lot of like for my first project in Pusdakota, I did also a literature study. So I also found these things online, and I was just really surprised because in the Netherlands, that's not a thing. Like you move out as a
Yeah.
child when you are like 18 or 19 and you go studying, and like so, some younger people stay with their parents for a longer time, but like living with your grandparents is really rare. That doesn't really
Mhm.
happen. Yeah, so as I said, we are a lot more individualistic, and that was, yeah, surprising to me. I cannot imagine that my grandparents would live in my parents' house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. And then when you found out that, oh, there's a lot of people that live in the same house, there's like grandparents, their grandchild also live there. Do you think like this is a strength that Indonesia have, like, oh, they're carrying each other, or it's not?
Yeah, I think it could be a strength in the sense that like you always have people around you, and of course, at a later age, it's really nice to have that emotional support and that social connectivity. So I think it could really be a strength. For me personally, I would like to live alone. I would
Is
not want to live with my
yeah,
parents when I'm older, but yeah, I think it's also because it's more my culture,
yeah, that's
and we are just appreciate more being alone. So yeah, but it could be a strength, especially in, yeah, in here, I think. Yeah.
yeah, and also I was also in the KKN
Hmm.
program, right? And then when we're there, we could see like people there, they love to like communicating and having like things, events. They have to like being in the same place with a lot of people, which actually a very nice thing for me. Do you think also like, oh, it's a good things that happen in Indonesia, like people still like not that individualistic, like they love to talk with a
Very
lot of
good.
people.
I think that's actually a strength of your healthcare system or your culture, is that it's so community focused,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people get so much benefit from that, and just the way people are interacting and the programs that are there for them, and the social cohesion it creates. I think that's, yeah, I think that's really good. So I think in the Netherlands we can learn from that, because of course individualism
Yeah.
is nice to a certain extent, but when for elderly,
Mm.
yeah, a lot of elderly in the Netherlands are very lonely and they don't have that many friends, or everybody around them is dying, and then it would be
Mm.
nice to have such a community to be a part of, and meet up with. Yeah.
Yeah, so actually, that's also my next question. When if we already talk about what happened in Indonesia, and then I want to know about what happened in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Actually, about what happened in the Netherlands, how they treat each other, especially treat the elderly. So, can you describe to me how aging and elderly care generally approach in the Netherlands?
Yes. So I think in the Netherlands, healthy aging is approached with more attention than here. I think here it's maybe starting now,
Mm-hmm.
and we are just, there's more general awareness about healthy aging. Like the government just started to bombard us with
Yeah,
information, I guess, from a young age. So you have the Isi Peringu here, and
yeah,
and
that's right.
and you have something similar like that. In primary school, you learn about that, and there's just so much your parents teach you about healthy foods, and that you should be doing a sport when you're a child. So like my parents, they always forced me to eat my vegetables, and they
Mm-hmm.
always put me in a sporting classes as a child. So it's more awareness about how important healthy aging is. And yeah, many people live generally a more healthy lifestyle. We are also a biking country,
Yeah, that's
so
right.
there's bikes everywhere. I think on average, every Dutch person owns 2 bikes, and the cities are all organized with bike lanes everywhere. It's very bikeable and way fewer cars. And the biking, of course, is a good movement. It's a low impact, but can be high intensity training. So you're moving yourself everywhere without using like an electric or like with fossil fuels to transport you. So it's good for physical activity. So I think we approach it with more awareness. And elderly care is more institutionalized in the Netherlands. So there's a strong focus on professional healthcare, and um, nursing homes and home care services are widely available. And this is a difference because here there's also social stigma to go to put your parents in a
Yeah,
in
that's
a
right. That's actually something that very interesting to talk about, right?
yeah, right, because it's a social stigma to put your parents in a nursing
Mm.
home, and in the Netherlands that's not a thing because
It's a normal things in Netherlands.
it's a normal thing. I mean, we focus on
How they treat it there.
yeah, we focus first of all we focus on functional independence as
Yeah.
long as possible. So we really encourage and we have programs to keep elderly independent for as long as possible. But after that,
Oh,
if it's not possible anymore,
they
then
can go
it's
to
not a problem if they go to a nursing home.
nursing.
I mean, the elderly themselves still don't want to go there, I think, because they kind of associate with the ending of their life. It's like the
Oh,
last
yeah,
step,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and you become dependent of others and of the healthcare system. So it's not that they are happy to go there, but it's not a stigma for the children to put them in there, you know?
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's actually like things that happen in Indonesia. Like we can see that maybe there's still some or a lot of elderly who thinks that going to the nursing
Yeah.
home in Indonesia is still like they have a social stigma about oh their children doesn't love them anymore and things like
Right.
that. It's
Yeah, that's
actually
something.
happening in Indonesia.
Yeah, that's something I found out, and that's interesting, and that's a difference from our country. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also it's very interesting also talking in the Netherlands that people elderly even feels like individualistic. Do they feel lonely or like do their like their family doesn't like put a big role in their ending of life or like in their life being an elderly?
Yeah, so this is interesting because families are still important in the Netherlands, and of course, as an old person, you rely on your children taking
Yeah.
care of you, but it's not a given that your children take full responsibility for
Okay.
full-time care. For example, my grandma, like she has 4 daughters, and they sort of like split the care, and then it's manageable. And like we live close to my grandma, so we can provide the care, but it's not a given because sometimes, like when you live outside of the Netherlands and your parents live at home in the Netherlands and you're not there, it's like it's not a wrong thing. Like it doesn't mean you're
Okay.
abandoning your parents, but yeah. So it depends a bit on like the individual approach, how much care you have for your family. But we have just like professional services for home care
Yeah.
are more available. So you have like people that can come cleaning or people that can help with showering and putting clothes on. And that's all like also organized by insurance. So it doesn't cost money for elderly
Mm,
who
that is
can
very
get that.
good.
So like there's more support from yeah from the government, I guess, for that. So that takes a bit off from the burden on the family.
Okay, is it very nice thing? Is that and how about the community? Since we talked and found out that in Indonesia, the community, people, your neighbors, and everything, we love to talk with each other. And then, is it like the same thing happening in Netherlands? Like
No.
for the elderly, of course.
Yeah, no, it's very different. I think, and that's I think where we can learn a lot from you. Like we are individualistic, so whenever you're on the streets, then nobody's looking at each other.
Uh,
And maybe like in the villages, it's maybe a bit more friendly, but in the bigger cities, it's really individualistic, and everybody just minds their own
okay.
business. And of course, you're friends with your neighbors, like that's also not a given, but most people, of course, are befriending their neighbors and they have people in the village that they know and they're friendly and stuff. But it's not as like in everyday interactions
Mm,
that I've observed here that people really like go to community center together and partake in a program or how people are sitting outside of their house and talking to the neighbors or like everyday interactions when they're
yeah.
walking in the streets. Like that's not we don't have that as much, and I think. for elderly that can be, yeah, uh, like contributing to isolation and like, yeah, isolation, I mean, and loneliness. Yeah.
And like in Indonesia, there are some elderly who love like to have like annual events. Like every week they have like dancing class
Right.
together, or like they're having like what is it called? In Indonesia they call it arisan. So like people are just gonna gather together, having a talk, and then
Yeah.
have a dinner together, things like that. They will have like annual events. Like doesn't like in Netherlands or maybe some elderly have like annual events like that. So every week
Yeah.
or every month,
Yeah.
or
So
it's hard to find out.
there are groups like that. For example, speaking from personal experience, my grandma, she always had this card playing group.
Hmm.
So they came together every week and played like a card game.
It's a nice
But
thing.
it's not as widely available as here. So in the Netherlands, like we have some programs for elderly, but that's usually like within a nursing home, and then you can
Okay.
like on Thursday at lunch there is a
Yeah,
bingo,
yeah,
like something
yeah.
like that. But it's not as yeah, important as how it's organized here, I guess. But I think we can learn from that because I think that would be really nice for the elderly if there's more attention to that. Um, yeah, so that was also something that I saw that I really thought was a strength of the system here.
So we already talked about what happened in Indonesia, what happened to the Netherlands, and I guess from our conversation we already found out the difference actually from Netherlands
Mm-hmm.
and Indonesia. So actually you have your most of your time on the KKN, right? On the
Yes.
KKN, and when you're there, we're going to a lot of primary care also to like puskesmas, the primary care, and then we also go to the posyandu, and then when you're there, we know that every healthcare have their own limitations. Based on your experience, what challenge did you notice in Indonesia when it comes to aging wellness?
Yeah. So first of all, I think that the education is limited, and it's certain in especially in like rural areas. People do not have like a general education or awareness about what what contains a healthy
Yeah,
lifestyle, or like what is healthy foods, and then what are alarm symptoms, when should I really go to the
yeah,
doctor.
that's right. Mhm.
And of course, a limitation is, I think, the professional care that's highly like centered in Java in the bigger cities, in Surabaya or yeah, other bigger cities. But like in other islands, there might be
Yeah,
a shortage of doctors and professional care. So I think that's also a limitation that you guys have.
and then from Indonesia, that's what you feel when you're like being a month here, and then when you're in Netherlands, what do you think about the challenge that you have in Netherlands?
Yeah, so I think the biggest challenge in the Netherlands is the the potential social isolation, and I think we have like a highly structured approach in the healthcare, and that can also sometimes feel impersonal,
Yes.
which
Mm-mm.
which can contribute to people feeling like not heard or a worse emotional well-being. So I think like we have the healthcare is organized very well, and of course we have our own struggles within the system, but usually like we have high professional care for everyone and everybody is insured, and that's all working. But sometimes like we are not putting too much awareness in
Okay.
prevention yet. Like I think there's also a problem here. So like we are more focused still on treating the disease
Yeah,
instead of
not
preventing
preventing.
it from existing. And as I said, with like the social isolation and loneliness, I think we can, yeah, still develop ourselves in that a lot because, yeah, the approach can feel impersonal, and we don't have that community feeling or community programs, especially for the elderly, which can contribute to like, yeah, the isolation, social isolation.
Okay, so we already talked a lot about the strengths in the Indonesia and also in the Netherlands and also the limitation. This brings us to the very important question that we're going to talk today. So after seeing both systems in Netherlands and also in Indonesia, how do you think aging wellness should ideally be approached?
Yeah, that's a good question.
This is a good question. I want to
Yeah.
know your. own perspective.
Yeah, so I think ideally it would be the best of both worlds. So I would
Yeah.
combine the community-centered approach, and especially among older generations, with a bit of the individualistic
Realistic.
approach, because I can also see that it can be a burden as a younger person to have to care about your parents and grandparents so much. So a bit of a combination between that, I think, would work perfect, where everybody is the happiest and the emotional well-being is like cared for everyone. Um, and also in combination with like the professional medical care you have in the bigger cities here and in the Netherlands, how widely available it is to everyone, even like in villages and everything. Um, so I think it would be a combination between like that community approach and the professional approach, like together.
Okay, it's a nice combination between Indonesia and Netherlands.
Yeah,
And actually, I have my own question that before. Have you ever heard the happier, the healthier?
yeah,
So do you think like when you're happy or how you feel or you're emotionally when you're happy, it means like it's also better. Like it's very important things for people to be
yeah,
healthy is to be happy.
yeah.
Do you agree
Yeah, I
with that?
agree very much because I think, of course, when you are healthy, you feel way better. Or when you're happy, you feel way better. But also, I think it leads like indirectly to more behavior that is healthy. So when you feel happy, you are more inclined to meet with up with
Yeah.
people, which is good for your mental health. But you're also maybe walking more to places, or you're moving
Hmm.
more, and you care more about living a healthy lifestyle. And you want to maybe invest in eating more vegetables, or so I think indirectly it also leads to healthy behavior. And we are social animals as humans, so I think it's a necessary thing to be socially bonded and stuff, and that also creates happiness. So it's like sort of a vice versa effect. So I really agree with that.
And then, so when we're talking about being happy, I'm pretty sure that I don't know about the other grandparents, but like my grandparents, they love to have time with their grandchild, with their family, and then me sometimes like I have my own things to do, and then like doesn't have like enough time for them. So,
Yeah,
what do you think about us as a community or as a younger people to
yeah,
do for the elderly?
yeah. It's difficult, right? Because that's what I also said before, that there should be a balance between
Being
that you care for
individualistic,
them, but also that you are an individual being. And I think personally for me here, there's more of like, for me, there's like, I would feel too much pressure to care for my
uh-huh.
parents and elderly, like for my family, I mean. So yeah, it's hard to find that balance. But for example, I am also good in contact with my grandparents, and
Mhm.
I meet up with them like maybe once in every 2 months, and then we have a lunch or we talk, and
Yeah, it's a
we are
nice
texting on
things.
WhatsApp
Yeah.
all the time, and they ask me for pictures and stuff. So we have that contact, but it's not as, I don't feel like the obligation to care for them. That's more on my parents and the government. So that's nice. I don't think you should feel that pressure at this age. So I think I think it's a good thing, but it should be more in balance maybe. But I wouldn't necessarily have the right answers on how exactly that that would turn out. But I think in general, yeah, you should treat the elderly with love and care, and yeah, they have lived their life and contributed to the country, and I think deserve to be, yeah, well cared for, of course. Yeah.
And I think like from our conversations, we come to a conclusion that combining what happened in the Netherlands and combining what's good in Indonesia, but combining, I could see like emotional support and then the professionals also combining both two is a very good things.
Yeah.
It's gonna make like aging wellness be more, it's more
Yeah.
better
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
what we have right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
So most of our listeners actually students and then young adults. So from your what we are talking about, what message would you like to share with them about aging and interacting with older adults?
Yeah. So of course to be there for them and show them love and support. And I think what you should also not forget is to take the role of an educator on yourself, because you have the knowledge,
Yeah,
and that's not a given here. So you're actually like whenever you're educated like this, and the students, of course, you are all university students, which is, yeah, very very nice. but I think you should feel a bit of a responsibility to educate other people as well, and elderly and your patients later on, like when you're seeing them,
Mm-mm.
to tell them about like the small adjustments they can make in their healthy lifestyle and what they can do to be a happier and healthier person when they are at an older age. I kind of feel like yeah, we have like in the Netherlands we have like 7 competencies that a doctor should have to
Yeah.
be a good doctor, and for example, health advocate is one of them. So you should always like try to improve the health of others, and not only by treating but also by healthy lifestyle tips or small adjustments, and I think that's something to take with you to become a good physician. And for yourself, I think I always like to use the motto like be the change you want to see. So it has to,
Ah, it's a
yeah, the
nice
change has to
word for
start
the
somewhere.
change.
And I think I've observed many students living a very unhealthy lifestyle
Okay.
themselves. And and I understand because I also learned within this like elective that you cannot blame an individual for having an unhealthy lifestyle. There's so many layers to it. The problem
Yes,
is
that's right.
multifaceted, and it's passed down through generations. But like I think in the KKN group, we try to like stimulate others to maybe walk instead of
Yes,
taking the car. And
that's
even
right.
though it's maybe not like instant good feeling of walking, but you're contributing to your health and
Yeah.
to your healthy aging, and like try to make small adjustments because of course big changes and completely changing your diet is not going to work from one day to the next, but like making small adjustments and um, balancing the rice out with a bit more vegetables. You know, I think that's a good tip uh, to do yourself, because I believe that change has to start somewhere, and usually the younger people are the ones who are responsible for that. And then when you are older, there's less habit of
Yeah.
being unhealthy and more habit of being healthy.
It's a very nice things, and actually, I'm kind of think about what should I eat, and then the best way for me to be a being aging wellness, having the good things in aging. So, um, I guess like you have a lot of awareness about aging things, and then
Hmm.
you personally, what do you personally think about your aging in the future? But if you can picture Aggie in the future, maybe 20 years from now, what would it be? What could it happen?
Yeah, I hope that I'm just very healthy and my loved ones and friends are healthy, of course. Like I would say I live a general healthy lifestyle, but there's also room for a good party or an unhealthy food or a McDonald's, you know, but it's all about
Yeah.
balance, and I realize that as well. And I think sometimes I can be too strict and I can be like
Mm.
too controlling on like what I eat and too much vegetables and stuff. And I think I can that's like a learning point for me to be just a bit more. You can also have unhealthy
Yeah,
things.
that's
It's just
right.
more
You have
about
to enjoy
balance.
also.
Exactly. So that's a learning point for me. But I hope in the future that of course I'm just feeling good and I'm doing my exercise and I'm feeling strong and fit and healthy. And yeah, something I really take with me is with like being a health advocate as a doctor is that uh, you cannot put it on one individual being, as I told before, because I kind of when I reflect back on my like before this elective, I like when there was a patient that was living an unhealthy
Yeah.
lifestyle, I would be in my head thinking like, oh, why do you live
Yeah, yeah,
unhealthy?
yeah.
But
That's right.
now I realize that it's not that easy to blame an
Blaming. Yeah.
individual, right? It's like the system, and it's so multifaceted. So I think that's going to make me better doctor. And
Nice to hear that. Very nice thing to hear that.
thank
So, Iggy, thank you very much for sharing your experience during the KKS and also Pusdakota Indonesia. And actually, from this conversation, it reminds me that aging wellness is not only about the healthcare, it also or about the facility, but also about human connections,
right.
about emotional supports,
Yeah.
about humans actually,
Yeah.
about what's going on around us. So, to our listeners, thank you for listening to our
Thank you.
podcast today. We hope that from this podcast, it encouraged all of us to look at aging not as something distant, but as a shared journey that we all need to prepare. So, I guess that's all that we're going to share, or do you have anything else to share, Eggy, for our listeners today?
Yeah, I mean, I want to thank everyone for being so welcoming and for having me here. I learned a lot, and I hope I contributed a little part of my knowledge and skills here. So thank you so much, and I wish you all the best, and thanks for having me on the podcast.
Yeah, and we'd love to have you again in Indonesia later.
I'm sure I will come back.
Okay, so that's all about our episode today. See you on the next episode.